Cerberus Is Asleep. Episode 1: The House at 31st Werner Road. When oversight fails, dignity dies twice. You're listening to When Cerberus Is Asleep, a series about trust, death, and what happens when the guardians of dignity forget to keep watch. Today's story takes us to Penrose, Colorado, a quiet town with a post office, a highway, and one building that carried a promise: Return to Nature Funeral Home. But what investigators found there in October 2023 was something nature itself could no longer bear. This is the house at 31st Werner Road. Chapter 1: The Smell. It began, as many horrors do, with a smell. A sweetness at first, faint, almost floral, then heavier, like decay, covered in sugar. Neighbors in Penrose noticed it drifting across Highway 115 near the post office. Someone called it into the police, then another, and another. Inside the single-story building with its modest sign, the Return to Nature Funeral Home promised families green burials, simple farewells, all as natural as possible, the website said. But the air told another story. When investigators entered in early 2023, they found nearly 200 bodies. Some had been there since 2019, stacked in rooms, laying on the floor, stored in gurneys and folding tables. Flies, maggots, the heat of decomposition thick in every corner. Sludge from the bodies pooled inches deep on the floor. A sweet fog clung to the drywall. The foundation itself was stained. Black and brown marks where fluid had seeped from inside. Outside, birds pecked at insects. Inside, the air vibrated with rot. An EPA officer would later describe it as the following: fluids and biological matter were present in nearly every room. Thousands of dead flies, buckets of unknown liquid, 5-gallon drums of lye. But language has limits. The human mind can record, but it can't comprehend 200 forgotten dead. They got urns in return. But the ashes inside? They were dry concrete mix, not remains. Investigators later found text messages between the couple. John wrote, "My only focus is keeping us out of jail." He suggested digging a hole and using lye, or building a large fire. And then, after moving bodies one day, he texted, "I got people juice on me. Want a cheeseburger?" That's how far they had fallen. Between the dead and the living, there was no line anymore. Noticed that Return to Nature had stopped cremating bodies. When police entered, they found the worst of everything. Bodily fluids had soaked through the floor and into the walls. Animals tried to dig through the doors. 30 bags of used protective suits were piled up into a corner. This wasn't a mistake. It was total neglect. The Fremont County Board of Health called it what it was: a source of filth and a danger to public health. They ordered the building destroyed. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, took over. Their job? Remove all danger and clean the site. On November 15th, 2023, 2 unseen coordinators went inside to check every room. They wore full protective gear. They found floors covered in slime, walls soaked through, lye and chemicals everywhere, flies, rodents, stains. In April 2024, the EPA began demolition. They infected the building first, then they broke it down piece by piece. They sprayed water to stop dust from spreading. Everything was sealed, loaded into trucks, and taken to a safe landfill. By April 20th, the building was gone. In its place, clean soil. But no one in Penrose will ever forget what stood there. It was fraud. They took more than 130,000 US dollars from grieving families for services they didn't provide. But they also took almost 900,000 USDs in federal COVID-19 relief money and used it on themselves. They bought 2 luxury cars, a GMC Yukon and an Infiniti. They went on trips to California, Florida, and Las Vegas. They spent money on body sculpting, Gucci, Tiffany, and cryptocurrency. In October 2024, both pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit wire fraud. In June 2025, John Halford was sentenced to 20 years in prison and ordered to pay back over $1 million. His wife still faces her sentence up to this date. Both families and judges wanted more. A state judge rejected a lighter plea deal after hearing the victims speak. He said he had never done that before in his 9 years on the bench. He called it an extreme action by the court. In a separate civil case, the couple was ordered to pay over $950,000 million to the families. They were never able to pay it, but the message was clear. Never again. Loved ones truly went. DNA tests can't bring peace, only truth, and truth is heavy. Colorado changed its laws. Now funeral homes must have licenses and regular inspections, but trust, once broken, takes longer to rebuild. In Greek myth, Cerberus was the 3-headed dog that guarded the gate between life and death. He never slept. 3 heads, 3 sets of eyes, always watching. But in Penrose, the guardian slept, and in that silence, trust died. If we want to make sure this never happens again, we need more than laws. We need systems that don't forget. A digital guardian that tracks, reminds, and records, not to replace compassion, but to protect it. Because the dead deserve dignity, and the living deserve peace. Both depend on someone keeping watch. You've been listening to When Cerberus Is Asleep, the house at 31st Werner Road. This is the first episode in a new series about true crimes inside the funeral industry. Real cases from across America, one state at a time. Next time, a new story, another failure, another chance to learn why the guardian must never close his eyes. Until then, stay awake, stay vigilant, and keep watch, because the dead can't.